Discretion is advised.
Luckily, Milagros has found a new job that pays more so she can be at home with Beto. Today, she's waiting tables at a conference titled Unveiling Secrets of Child Sexual Abuse.
We know that this is happening right here on St. Croix, so none of us can afford to act like it doesn't. Now Dr. Dennis will take questions.
I noticed my child started receiving some gifts from lots of teachers. Is that something I should worry about?
When you say a lot of teachers, I'm not so concerned. As long as all the students are getting gifts around a holiday or birthday, it's okay. It's when one child is singled out for special attention that we need to be concerned.
I used to think children were making it up or they were being coached.
The children are not making it up. Believe them. Believe them. Believe them. Most children just cannot come up with the type of details sexual assault entails. There are very few cases of one parent coaching a child to call foul, and let's say another parent, when going through divorce or something like that. Keep your eyes open. Make sure your child is supervised. Early morning, afternoons after school, and the evenings are prime times for abuse to take place. Victimizers are looking for vulnerable people.
I regret not listening to my daughter. What can I do?
Support her. Be honest with her. Let her know that you made a mistake. Ask for forgiveness. Now in closing, remember any change in behavior, usually opposite from what you're used to, is a chief sign of abuse. Pay attention. Ask questions. And once again, believe your child. Thank you all for coming.
Miss, can I talk to you? I don't know what to do. My mom takes care of my son, and I blame myself.
Oh no, honey. Let's talk.
These are the moments when I relax a little. I know there are people like Dr. Dennis in our community who are watchdogs for this abuse. She and others are available for the victim and their families. We need more people like her.
Thank you for listening to Silence Speaks, Secrets Revealed. If you or someone you know has been sexually abused, please dial 911 in an emergency or call the Women's Coalition at 340-773-9272 to find out how you can end child sexual abuse.
Welcome to the after show Let's Talk About It, a live call-in show to continue discussing the weekly episodes of Silence Speaks, Secrets Revealed, a radio drama about child sexual abuse, presented by the Women's Coalition of St. Croix. The stories are fiction based on fact. I'm your host, Shalene Gums. Today with us we have Patsy Guthrie, a school psychologist. The number to call in is 773-3636, 773-FM-FM. If you would like to send a question or comment because you are not comfortable with your voice being on air or would like to remain anonymous, please send us a private DM message on Facebook at m.me/WCSTX. Right? Right. All right. I'm just making sure. Because we've had some people that said that they didn't feel comfortable calling in because people would recognize their voice. And so we wanted to find a different venue, a different avenue, a different medium for people to be able to call or at least send us a message or their comments so that we're able to respond while we're on air and our guests are with us. So thank you so much, Patsy Guthrie, for being here with us.
Hey, Patsy.
Welcome to the crew. Welcome to the crew. Welcome to the crew. The rest of the crew is here with me as well today. That's Carrie and Debbie and Vaughn. Okay, and Glenn's filling in again. So let me give you the correct names. That's Carolyn, Deborah, and Vaughn. But we are a crew. Everybody has a nickname. So Patsy, tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get into the questions.
Okay. So, as you say, my name is Patsy Guthrie. I'm a longtime resident of St. Croix, Virgin Islands. I am also a longtime educator, advocate, and just community involved individual. I have 2 daughters and a grandson, and I work with the Department of Education currently.
All right. So I'm going to ask you a couple of the questions. I mean, we're talking about how to help and heal children at home and the breaking the stigma. So what are ways that children can ask for help? And I'm asking you from a school psychologist perspective because I know you see people come in and they come into the office and they may have different ways. But what are some of the ways that they ask for help, especially in your capacity?
Well, when we're dealing with children, we find that they ask for help a little different than adults. sometimes it's through their behaviors. A lot of times it's through changes. In really young children, we've picked up that something isn't right, maybe through their drawings.
Okay.
And in other cases, teenagers might tell a friend, and then it gets to us. And children may ask for help by finding an adult that they trust, and typically the teacher. Sometimes it's not the teacher that they ask, it might be the counselor, someone. But even before that, in order to get children to ask for help, there has to be an awareness created, so the children know who to turn to, who will listen, and sort of have an awareness about where to go to seek help.
Okay. All right. And so we're going to touch on something that's a little bit touchy, because it's something that it's not only a problem in this incident, but in across the board. So why do you think there's a stigma about therapy? You know, because a lot of people don't seek help. They don't encourage their children to seek help because there's this stigma about therapy or counseling, or, you know.
So that there might be several reasons for that. One of the reasons that I know of that is popular, say in the system, for example, might be that no one wants to be labeled as crazy, and a lot of times people associate therapy or counseling with individuals who are, you know, in quotes, crazy. So they're stigmatized. There's that stigma. Another thing I know that comes out of our culture is that we tend to see prayer, or maybe look at the church or God as a person who will, you know, fix things. So instead of reaching out and letting other people know our business, from a cultural perspective, we prefer to keep our business in our homes and maybe turn to God, maybe even the minister, for help in respect to child maltreatment.
Okay. And so how do you think parent stigma about therapy affects children now receiving therapy, or even being willing to ask for help?
Well, if parents have particular stigma, it might be, or reluctance, it might be because of their own experience, maybe in the past, perhaps. That could be one factor, that they might have had a negative experience trying to seek therapy or counseling, because our community is a little small. So because of our small community, we feel that if we disclose certain information, others might end up, you know, knowing about our business, or suspect if we're seen entering a particular establishment that's associated with therapy, or even the traditional ones like the mental health facilities. People already associate those with the stigma of therapy. So it depends on the experience. Now, for parents who might have had good experiences and had received help, whether it's through the coalition or even the Department of Human Service, they might be willing to, advocate or look out for their children who might need services. And so it depends, to me, on the experience that they themselves encountered.
And so that affects a lot about how they encourage their children to tell somebody. Okay. And what are some of the ways that children, while being in the home, can help, or parents or family members can help them to heal while at home? Because a lot of the times the incidents happen in the home. They're not necessarily removed right away, or they may be around someone, or they may be there and they may not be comfortable telling anybody, but they're there and they're trying to be able to maneuver about what's happening. So they know that this person's coming around. They're trying to tell but not tell. They don't really want to ask for help, but they're there. And so what are things that they can do to make themselves feel, I guess, a little safer, or to start to give signs so that they can start to do the healing process at home. Because a lot of times, like in the episode that we heard, the mother, like, she blamed herself. She and the grandmother take care of this child, and something happened and she blames herself. And so the breakdown is not only with the child that got sexually assaulted, but also with the parents and the grandparents. And so all of that, and now she's asking for help, but all these things have already happened. So, and everybody's blaming everybody's mad, and she's blaming herself, and all that takes place. So what are some of the ways that you know, at home you can start healing?
Well, at home you can start healing if you're already receiving help outside. I would say take some of the activities from the therapeutic session and reinforce them at home. Encourage positive communication, open and honest communication, or try to develop it. Because I know based on experience that many times victims do not necessarily report what has happened to them. So sometimes you could be living in a home and not know that something has happened to your own child. And that must be an awful feeling when it turns out that is the case. But for people who are willing to seek therapy, and for people who are getting help outside of the home, to me it is very encouraging when you bring the activities or the new skills that you're developing in the therapeutic sessions to come to the home and practice, and to encourage and to be supportive, and allow yourself to be forgiving of yourself as well as your child. Also be patient with them, be patient with the changes or the different moods that the individual might be going through. So be supportive, be encouraging, and be positive.
Okay. So let me, a question that I didn't send you before. Suppose the family hasn't gotten to the point where they've gone to counseling, but they do know that something's happened. And because of the stigma of therapy and not necessarily wanting anybody to know, trying to kind of heal it themselves, what are some of the things that they can do? Because a lot of people, they're going to be thinking, because it's a reality, if my child gets molested in my house and the person, you know, is somebody that's close to me, even though I may get rid of that person, I'm afraid that they're going to take my child. I don't want them to take my child. And so I'm going to try to self-heal, which is probably not the best idea. But because it feels safer to me, because we make decisions based on information that we have. And if I think they're going to take my child because this happened in my home, and people are looking at me because they already think that I'm a bad parent, but what are some of the things that those people who are in that position can do? Because that's very, very real. A lot of times we don't look at all the circumstances, you know, and it may be very, very real to them. If I've been arrested for something, maybe I got into a fight, or, you know, and I'm there and on probation and this happens to my child, the likelihood of them taking my child away is going to be higher. And so, you know, what are some of the things that they can do, at least to help with healing?
So the parents of the victim?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I would say some of the things they can do, you say outside of therapy, inside of the home, would be to have frequent discussions with their child, reassure them that things will get better, it's going to take time, this is a process, we're in this together, we're going to get through it, and allow your child to, you do not force your child to speak, but you sort of wait on them, and then when they want to talk, be prepared to listen, be prepared to be encouraging, be prepared to just be a big supporter. Let them know that you understand, and that you're going to seek help for not just the child, but for the family as a unit, and for as a group.
Okay. All right. And so our $1 million question that everybody gets to answer if you had one wish for the community when it came to a solution to this problem of child sexual assault, what would it be?
For everyone to get involved.
Okay.
To move away from waiting on children to report, because not only does research show, but the experience shows that children hardly do that. And that instead of just waiting for child agencies such as the Department of Human Service or just the Women's Coalition to take the lead and bring this to the forefront to bring awareness, to me it's a community issue. It's no longer just a child or individual issue. It's a community issue because it's rampant, it's pervasive, and it's so silent for so many years, and only just maybe one sector or one advocate agency is really pushing it, but it really should be pushed, say, from the pulpits, in the schools, not just the school counselors. It's everybody's business. So it's the community. I think everyone needs to get involved and bring the awareness, whether it's through the PTAs, the community centers. It has to be, it's been too silent for too long. It needs to get more, we need to bring more awareness, and that's only going to happen if we all get involved.
So the community involvement.
Community, individual, community, groups, everyone.
So it's everybody's job.
Everybody's job.
It's everybody's job. That is so true. It is everybody's job. And a lot of times it doesn't seem like it's everybody's job because we have gotten to this place where I'm not going to say anything. And we see that as it comes across the board. You know, you hear somebody screaming, nobody really does anything. We're starting to see it more now when we talk about, to get a little bit off topic, when we start to talk about everybody's hearing gunshots and nobody does anything. Because there's become screaming, children crying, people getting beat up, people getting knocked down, people running out of their houses. All of it has become, we've become so desensitized to it. So it's just like, oh, that's gunshots again. Oh, that person's screaming again. And nobody really gets involved. So the saying that community involvement is extremely important is extremely important. Because it has to be a problem even if it's not my personal problem. And I think we're struggling with that in our community, is that if it's not my personal problem, then it's not a problem. But it will always come back around to being our personal problem if the community is broken. And that's one of the reasons why we're doing this. You coming down, Gary?
I'm just thinking about it.
Okay. So one of the things that we really wanted to do in terms of doing this show, like you said, is to get the community involved. That was the whole purpose. Because if we could get everybody to stop being silent about it, so when you hear the screaming, when you hear the crying, when you see the children running around, if you see them outside and they're outside by themselves for too long, if you see one child's missing, all of those things, if you see the parents need help, we want healthy communities, not and healthy villages, not just the village. We need healthy villages, but we do need community awareness.
Yeah, and something that Patsy, you mentioned earlier about when you guys were talking about stigma, I thought that was a really great topic to kind of delve into, because I think we don't acknowledge that there is still a stigma about people seeking help.
Yes.
But something that rang true for me was when you're talking about people turning to their faith to heal them. And I want to talk a little bit more, I think we need to explore a little bit more and talk to those pastors and people that are maybe listening about the impact they have on those parishioners that come to them for help. And when they create a negative experience, or when they tell them this is a family member, or this is a family business, or this is church business, and not to share that, or we're going to pray about it and that's all we're going to do, the harm that does, not only just for stigma, but also it really doesn't get the help that the person really needs. So I wondered if you, Patsy, you can talk a little bit more about that.
Yes. Well, I just know from growing up Caribbean that there is a great stigma and a great belief in the power of prayer. And it's not a bad thing, it's an awesome thing. However, there is a time and place for everything. And I know personally that ministers have quite an impact on their parishioners. They have an influence They are in leadership positions, and so with their leadership abilities, I would like to see, I would like to hear more from the pulpit about this issue. I can't remember going to a church, and I'm in church quite often, and hearing a topic of this nature as the topic for the discussion, or the what should I say, or for the sermon.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, but this is really lacking. So it's really needed, because people really look up from this community. We look up to our ministers, and I feel like the influence can be more impactful if they start to delve into topics of this nature, child sexual abuse.
And I think family, even family violence and any kind of abuse, it does take a special skill set. So sometimes lay people think that they can just provide that service, but they really do need some additional training so that they can provide that non-judgmental, compassionate care that is so valued and is going to encourage people to come in to get help. If they're going to feel judged, like Shalene, you were talking about, people think, oh I'm a bad parent, people are going to judge me for who I am. If that's how they feel that when they're going to somebody for help, then of course they're not going to want to go to help, because they're going to be judged.
Right.
So I think there's special training too, or special just awareness that for those lay people that are helping to provide non-judgmental, compassionate care.
Yeah, I agree. And a lot of times too, I mean, and like I'm in church all the time as well, because I'm Christian. And so one of the things that I know that struggling, especially as a counselor, one of the things that is a struggle, especially in the faith-based community, is that we're really, really big on forgiveness. And that forgiveness starts to look past the victim and the victim's pain. So I'm in pain, I'm not willing to forgive you. Just like, we aren't willing to forgive people for other things. You know what I mean? We're not willing to forgive people when they've hurt us, and we hold grudges and all the rest of it, and we judge people, and we don't get forgiveness for that. But we're willing to forgive perpetrators and leave the victims to die. And tell them, okay, you just pray. And prayer, like you said, prayer is great, but I can't pray if I'm hurting. And if you're continuing to tell me that that's all I need to do and it's not dealing with my pain, then it doesn't help. And so we run into that problem. And so that's why the training is necessary, the faith-based communities that come together, that work in agencies that come together, like DVSAC as a faith-based community, that we talk about that, and we go into the churches and we start having them become part of the solution. Because it's not okay for me to forgive the person that's raped me and you're not doing anything for me. You know what I mean? God doesn't work like that. He's never worked like that. And so we really want to do that. But we also want the community to understand that even though there may be a lot of stigma about counseling and all of that, there's never a stigma about melee. Right? So if you're going to do melee, you have to understand that that is not the right kind of counseling. A lot of people have lost their lives because of melee. A lot of children have been hurt because of melee. A lot of people have been dead because of melee. There's no other way to put it. A lot of people have been dead because of melee. Because when people start to talk and you have the wrong information, it sets off that emotion. And if you don't have the right channeling, or you don't have the right outlet, or you don't have the right way to deal with it, that stigma of counseling, we move it from healthy counseling into melee, because that's what it is. Oh yeah, she don't do what, she always got some different man, and her children them just there and da. But they're not saying, well, let me find out why she's in this position. Let me find out why this is that situation. Can I offer some help? Let me refer her to somebody who can give her some help. Let me refer him to somebody who could give him some help. We have young boys and they're on the corner and people are picking them up, and all of a sudden they're in gangs. We're not talking about it until they've shot somebody. You know what I mean? And we do need to stop it. And as usual, we're out of time. But we do need to stop it. We need to get past the stigma and understand that if we try to do if we keep the stigma so that we're not getting therapy from people who can help us and can give us some guidance and direction. Every counselor is supposed to be confidential. That is part of the job. You have to be confidential. Yes, it's a small community. And so because it's a small community, I know it's uncomfortable. That's why our office is up behind God's back, really and truly. We're far away from everything because we don't necessarily want people seeing other people come into our office because it makes them feel safer. That's the reason why we're like, DM us, message us on Facebook, because if you don't want your voice to be on the radio, because you may say something and somebody may recognize as you. Never know that you've been through it and all of a sudden that story's all over and it turns to melee instead of turning to something that can help and heal. So, thank you so much though, Patsy. You were awesome. Thank you for tuning in to Silence Speaks, Secrets Revealed, and the after show, Let's Talk About It. This program is funded by a grant from RALIANCE, a collaborative initiative to end sexual violence in one generation, made possible through a commitment from the National Football League. Its contents are solely the responsibility of the authors and do not necessarily represent the views of the NFL. If you need help, contact us at www.wcstx.org, 773-9272. WCSTX is our Facebook page, it's our Twitter page, it's our something else? YouTube page. It's all our pages. So if you need to send us a message or anything, the m.me/WCSTX is a way that you can private message us, because we would really like to hear from you. Thank you for all of you who have been constantly sending us messages, sending me messages. Use whatever resources that you have, because our community needs to heal. We have too many things going wrong and we really need a healthy community. And thank you again, Patsy.
You're welcome.
We appreciate you so much. Thank you so much. And thank you, Glenn. Thank you, Glenn.
You done?
Yep. Yes, we are done.
Five Corners is Get Central.
That wasn't too bad, right?
Thank you.
No problem. Anytime.
You can feel free to ask questions and
Yeah, I know,
participate,
but
you know.
I figure with the psychologist,
Yeah.
there's a
All right.
lot of grounds to cover.
Yeah.
Thank you.